bad.
Good. What is the word family here? A-N said, and what is that word?
Then. No, it's bad.
Okay, bad. And what is this word?
Learning disabilities in children are very common and treatable with specific curriculums and special help. But for some kids, their disability didn't just happen.
Okay, so
They had cancer.
So what does that say?
Then.
Good.
What we've seen here in St. Louis as well as across the country is that there's a large portion of the childhood cancer survivors who have had some challenges in school. And if you look at some of the neurocognitive testing, you'll find that some of them have challenges in memory, in executive function, which is the way you make decisions about going through a process, in paying attention, and then in specific academic skills such as reading or math.
21 fives.
Yeah.
This problem you did was 20 fives to make it easier.
Right.
About 50 years ago, a child who was diagnosed with ALL, which is a type of leukemia, was only given a 20% chance of surviving. Today, due to clinical trials and treatments, the survival rate has increased to 85%. Because of this larger group of survivors, attention is being given to the late effects or side effects of these intense treatments. And while there are studies being done to determine what effects chemotherapy and radiation have on a child's cognitive development, there was one woman who knew the answer. And it was her dying wish to have something done about it.
If you had a connection with Terri, it wasn't ever a halfway connection. And, you know, she just had so many gifts.
For years, Terri Thorton made the connection with kids at the Churchill School who struggled with academics, sharing her gift of learning, helping kids overcome their obstacles in school. But it wasn't until she was diagnosed and treated for breast cancer that Terri really understood what these kids had been going through.
In her own battles with cancer, realized the impact on her own learning. In terms of her memory ability and processing abilities, she realized the impact that the chemotherapy and radiation had on her.
Many adult cancer patients have experienced what is commonly referred to as chemo brain, where their mind is fuzzy as they go through treatments. And that's how Terri felt. While she was battling cancer, she was also struggling with her mind, having difficulty processing her thoughts.
And because of her knowledge of learning disabilities, you know, the light bulb just went on and said, oh my gosh, if this happens for me, can you imagine how it impacts the learning of kids?
25 times 20?
Yeah.
So do that off to the side. Make sure you do your work.
It sounds obvious that of course these kids would have learning deficits. They've had cancer, radiation treatment, they've been kept out of school. But unfortunately, in many cases, their cognitive disabilities don't fit the typical profile of a learning disability. And it's hard for them to find that special help and overcome yet another challenge.
New word family. What does AD say?
Add.
Good. And what is that word?
This is where Terri knew she could help. It was her dream to offer these kids the assistance they needed to conquer these late effects.
When Terri was battling breast cancer for the second time, she started talking about that what she wanted to do when she got well was to tutor kids with cancer.
So that's exactly what Terri's friends and colleagues at the Churchill School did. It was November 2002 and they formed Terri'sTutors, a tutoring program designed to help childhood cancer survivors. And in the first week, 35 teachers volunteered.
What I wanted you to do was factor that too out.
The training does an overview basically of the late effects along with just basically the kinds of treatments that the children go through, some of the terminology, what to expect if you are going to become a tutor for Terri'sTutors, both physically and with some of the memory loss and learning challenges that the kids have.
The tutoring services offered through Terri'sTutors are based on need. If a child has a learning disability as a result of his or her battle with cancer, they will get help, free of charge, just as Terri wanted it.
I think it's incredibly important, and I think it's just a huge gift to the St. Louis area to have the people from Churchill who offer this huge expertise in dealing with children with learning disabilities donating their time to, the St. Louis metropolitan area to help kids with cancer, it's just an astronomical gift to these families.
Terri passed away in January 2003, and though she never tutored these children herself, she never saw firsthand how her dream flourished. She continues to make a difference in the lives of children. Today, there are 17 kids who benefit from her tutoring program.
We can work on a one-on-one basis in a place where I'm comfortable in doing the work. It helps me a lot to relax, and because in classrooms I always seem to tense up, and it's just math is very hard for me, and the setting makes a big difference.
2 to each of the numbers. That's all the problem I wanted you to do.
What would Terri say? She would be amazed. And, you know, probably if I could sit down and say, Terri, this is all that's happened, she'd say, oh, get out of here. You're kidding me. That's not possible. But, you know, I know she knows, and I feel that she's watching us. And part of the success of Terri's Tutors is we have a great angel up there, I think.